Good evening. Good evening. Um, just gonna wait for a couple people to be on here, so we can discuss the thoughts on the two live interviews that were done today. Break the Case with Jen Coffendoffer and the Pascal Show. To be fair, I've still not finished the Pascal interview entirely because I was listening to the Break the Case one when that one started. So I am encouraging everyone to please share their thoughts, opinions, concerns, suggestions, but to keep it, healthy dialogue. Let's not troll anybody in chat. Let's not be nasty. So I did want to kind of just go through some of the comments that I've had over the course of the day and share some of them. Linda, regarding the interview, I quit watching. Honestly, the drama is too much. Some people are just rude and nasty. I wish the focus would be on finding Sebastian. It's a cross between a circus and a soap opera. It's about time something happened and Sebastian to be found. Praying for alive and safe. I'm hoping it's not the other way around. I'll be honest, I just don't know who or what to believe anymore. And I hope and pray that the people who are supposed to be looking into this are doing their job like they're supposed to. If not, a lot of people dropped the ball on this and Sebastian and failed Sebastian. I hope and pray Sebastian didn't end up paying the price for it. Please, someone find Sebastian. I thought that was a really great comment. Let's see. Joseph, this is extremely troubling. Seth agrees that Chloe should stop. That's a question. I think the man who has been his spokesperson has influence over him. I agree with you. Something is going on behind the scenes. No more drama. Said, this makes no sense to me whatsoever. In my opinion, it really seems this was set up for a while. I'm sorry, too many red flags to ignore. And in my head, it doesn't seem like he just disappeared. Come on, I don't understand. I really don't. Words of encouragement from Bill. What you need? It's teenage snack time. Brenda, how in God's name can they expect to find Sebastian if the family on both sides doesn't want to help? Sounds like both families are hiding really bad secrets and more are worried about their own secrets than their own child. What in the hell is going on with this family? I'm going to leave some of the other really nasty ones off. So I guess so. Okay, so I began the work on the things that I wanted to include in my letter to law enforcement, and something, yes, this is live, Lucille, and something that I gathered from the Pascal interview was learning that TBI did not have the CPS records. It's disturbing enough to learn that somebody that has custody of their son, which a lot of people didn't know, but I figured that out from the beginning. I mean, they were married. So, the fact that Seth just got these documents after hiring an attorney, um, and that TBI doesn't have them, it tells me TBI doesn't have the full picture. So that is concerning. So it sounds like Seth advised TBI to take a look at those documents or request the unredacted copies, because the ones that Seth has are redacted. And I'm sure that is, I assume, just names were redacted. So this tells me that this letter is probably very important, to communicate with law enforcement what the public and concerned people and parents are thinking and feeling. And if there's something, nefarious going on within law enforcement, and I'm not saying there is, but I'm just saying, like, if one half of law enforcement has a picture and the other half doesn't, how are they supposed to pull their weight? So I think we need to shine a light on some of these things, and also shine a light. I have included some, I'm not done yet, but I have pulled statistics, and I have pulled data on, for example, there's 121 active missing children cases in Tennessee. Seth quoted a statistic earlier, and that is not annually, that is monthly. Approximately 400 children, not annually, monthly, go missing in Tennessee. Obviously, if there are currently only 121 active missing children cases, then that would tell you that a lot of those get resolved, but that's still a lot of missing children. And then I pulled some population statistics of Hendersonville and Sumner County, and the number of employees in both of those law enforcement agencies, in order to show a parallel in this letter to law enforcement on why can this tiny town in Wisconsin manage to search and investigate at the same time, but you guys can't. It doesn't make sense to me. There was a lot of shade thrown on streamers, creators, about a lot of people that are making money off of things, who the three good ones are in their opinion, who aren't, and people profiting off of the Sebastian being missing. What I thought was interesting in the interview that Jen did, which I'm still not even finished with that one, is it was very emotional, and she did such an amazing job, because she took us to a place where we, learned about, there was a time where there was love, and you could see in, Seth's eyes when he had to stop at a point, because, he remembered, the commitment they made to one another, some of the things that were said, exchanging vows, things like that, finding out they were having a baby, the moment, the hardships of the pregnancy, the time in the hospital, moments about, Sebastian when he was a baby, and it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to think, like, this is where we are, in a place where there's rage and anger and hatred. But at one point love. There was love that came together and created Sebastian. And it made me think about the very beginning in the first couple, like the first two interviews that Katie and Chris did, when everything was, talking about what great co-parents they were, the communication they had, how, Katie choked up talking about, if Sebastian was in a sport or in any event, his dad would be the first one there cheering him on. So I thought it was very interesting to kind of go back to the very beginning of, the marriage and Sebastian coming into the picture. And I thought it was very emotional. And I could tell that, that's a hard place for Seth to go. It doesn't sound like he was the one who initiated the divorce. And so it was emotional. So some of the other things that we learned is he's not releasing on the advice of legal counsel. He is not releasing the CPS records. And he did note to Pascal that, these are the records of a minor. So, those are not going to be released. They touched on Chloe. I don't know if something happened that we're not aware of, because I agreed with Pascal that her statement to me was fair and appropriate and not negative. It seemed heartfelt. So, I don't know. We saw that they talked about, where they're going to be searching and things like that. It's confidential. They don't want harassment. That's their decision. It's clear people have been threatened. That the only part about the search that bothers me is, like, if we're not going to go beyond, hi, Mickey, hi, Blue Dragonfly, not going beyond the subdivision or, Hendersonville, to me, is a problem. And, we don't know what they're doing. So I still plan to send what I have to the canine handler, because everything I'm seeing is giving me all indications that the canine handler is still going to be there. And I believe she's coming tomorrow. Sumner County, not sharing the CPS records with TBI is bothersome, to say the least. It makes me want to go down a rabbit hole. I'm fighting the urge to not go down the rabbit hole on that. He reflected that there were more incidents. He, wouldn't really, at least as far as I watched, wasn't going to take the bait and share anymore. And then there was talk about setting up a 501c3 nonprofit charity. So I don't know how much we got. You could tell Seth is in a frustrated place. His comments regarding, like, Chloe and things like that, where there's too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm not going to use the other. I know she's Jules. Julia, I think, is, legal first name, Mickey. I'm not going to Well, it was just concerning to me that, you say there's too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm glad to hear he got an attorney. That's long overdue. Um, but I'm concerned that you would think that Chloe is part of too many cooks in the kitchen because, as a commenter in that podcast said, she's been there from day one, full heart and soul, not charging a dime, goodness of her heart. And I would think that was a slap in the face if I was her. But it sounds like, I don't know what he and Tony have figured out the plan forward is, differs with what she wants to do. And in the end, it is Seth's call, what he wants to do. And nobody can change that. Um, the ball is in his court. Um, so where does that leave us? Um, that leaves us just doing what we can, which is we share his face, we share his name. Once I, submit, the mapping points I have and, my thoughts behind those, once I send those off, there's nothing else I can do with that. Unless some new information leads in a different direction. There is the law enforcement letter, which is just something I'm doing because I think it needs to be done. And I'm not really anticipating it's going to make much difference, but it's important, I think. And I don't know what else we do at this point. So, I really would love to know what your guys' thoughts are, what you think, what else can we do? I don't know. You can't go, the searches are not publicized for safety reasons. I don't know who is the point person for search and rescue. I don't know. He didn't confirm nor deny if there was another private investigator involved. The attorney, I believe, I don't know if their scope is financial along with family law or what's going on there. Tony said tonight he is not in the investigative or search and rescue type mode. So I don't know who is running point on those things. And I don't know if we'll find that information out. Unless I missed that and it came later in the interview that I have not heard yet. Just really felt like this was off-putting energy-wise. Me or the Pascal interview, Dragonfly. Um, uh, Seth's energy was different. It was definitely different tonight. I picked up on that as well. I guess it was different in both interviews. The earlier interview on Break the Case was softer, I think. And then in the Pascal interview, it was different. I kind of, it's hard to say things when, you have the father on the other side who's saying, well, all everybody's going to do is, say this or say that. And, who are we to say? But it did feel like, and don't get me wrong, because you've heard me say it, there are people that are profiting off of this. There are people that are creating fuel and gaslighting and drama and really bad situations. And they're saying really bad things about people. It's really bad. But there's also plenty that are not, that have been trying to do a lot of helpful things in the best way that they can. And it did kind of feel like it was kind of negative, and um, you know, things were good for one, when you needed them, and then when you don't want them anymore, then you're just, you're trying to kick them to the curb, I guess. Everybody, it felt like, almost, and I felt like maybe there was not enough credit given. Um, Even if Chloe is not part of things anymore, I think that she's going to continue on her own, and she's not going to stop because she cares. And I think that there was a lot of nice things that could have been said. And I think that there's like not enough kindness in that regard. And there are volunteers that are, there was respect paid to the physical volunteers. But there's a lot of other volunteer work, so to speak, going on that is beyond the searching. And I don't think there was any acknowledgement of that. I don't think there was acknowledgement of the people that are trying to do the right thing. Um, Hi, Mickey. I think having Tony speak for Seth is helping get weight off his shoulders. Do you think? I don't know. I mean, he said that. I think that, they both seem to talk. It seems like Tony will stop things if he feels they need to be stopped. I think it's one of those things, I think that's mental. If you think it's helping, then it's helping. Um, and maybe you're up there on a platform and you're not alone. It's going and there's somebody controlling, the direction of things, or, reminding you, maybe don't say this or don't say that. And if he feels it's helping, then it is. Maybe like therapy, it's what it makes you feel. Um, you know, uh, I definitely left, in my opinion, I left the interview kind of melancholy, would be the best way to put it. Melancholy, deflated, um, definitely like a deflated balloon. I would say today was the most anxious, um, and kind of upset I've been, in general in life, in a good few months. Um, Carol, I felt like Tony and tag team on Pascal felt awkward, emotionless. I'm one of those people, some might say I read into things too much, but that's just how I am. I, am very observant of people in person, very observant of people, um, even through media platforms. And I think I haven't made up my mind yet on Tony, but it doesn't really matter what I think. Um, I am human just like you guys. There's so much garbage and nonsense that gets put out there that it's really hard to not let that affect your opinion. But I keep telling myself, well, you wait and see, you wait and see. It's not going to be like this. And then I see in the chat, because the chat is live, but I am, 30 minutes before. So I haven't heard what everybody's talking about. But then the chat is just blowing up about, money and 501c3 charities and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, what's coming? What's coming? And trusts. And I'm like, oh my God, is there a trust fund on Sebastian we're going to learn about? This is bad. There's not, at least that, I'm aware of. And if there is one, I don't think that Seth is probably aware. So I'm not trying to put a rumor out there. But yeah, it was, and I had people from the beginning that I saw in a lot of media platforms talking about him and Tony and the Caleb Harris situation and the financial end of it. And he has repeatedly affirmed he is not getting any money in any way, shape, or form. What do you do with that until proven otherwise? I mean, I'm not comfortable dragging somebody through the mud or saying they're doing something when I have zero concrete evidence that they're doing anything wrong. It seems like his presence is giving Seth comfort. It doesn't make me comfortable, not because of Tony, but it just feels like we're losing important resources on the team. But yeah, some of the comments I saw, Karen had said it's making parents more paranoid, withholding information, file charges for, well, I said this from the get-go, like that Seth needs to have an attorney to go after them for the known offenses, the known allegations. In the meantime, he needs to be, just because Sebastian isn't here, he still can, or at least I think, I'm not an attorney, should be able to go and deal with some of those things. And maybe that's the plan now with an attorney. So don't get me wrong, I'm very glad there's an attorney involved. And as soon as I heard about the belt incident, I would have had an attorney. And he did say, and he at least I did not hear him elaborate on the other two when they discussed the Nancy Grace and the clip that got leaked and then redacted from the podcast and the video about his thoughts on possibly overdosing him on sleep medicine. He basically said, I gave my top 3 theories, and he did so because he thought, this guy is a veteran FBI agent. He's going to give me advice. Which didn't happen, but he gave 3 scenarios, and that is the one that was set on Nancy Grace. And maybe the other ones were less nefarious, like he got fed up, they were strict, he ran away, and something, he got hurt trying to get to me. I don't know. You are correct, Mickey. I saw, and this is not my chat, this is the chat during the live. Seth shouldn't be worried about having a GoFundMe. His son is missing. Do you still think Katie overdosed Sebastian? Has law enforcement checked to see if airline tickets were purchased by Chris from Memphis to Nashville that weekend? Oh, I see what they're suggesting. They're suggesting he made it there and back because he took a plane. I see. We also learned allegedly there's dash cam footage, and Seth simply said, I have not seen any footage. I don't have a dash cam. So I don't know if that means one of Chris or Katie's vehicles, or maybe it's the work van, are equipped with some kind of dash cam. But that was a little bit interesting. They can write off GoFundMe donations. People are dumb. Dolly, you were quick with the clickbait title. I don't know. Haha, 501(c) here. I think they meant C3. Here we go. Seth has a right to think what he wants. I'm sure 100 different ways came across his mind. If everyone can donate, that would be great. people wanting confirmation on other things that did or did not happen. But it does seem that there is somebody who, I guess, based on their name, and they were not in that live chat, but this person, well, now I just figured it out in my head who it is. This person seems to be going into a lot of places, and it's a female, and sharing a lot of misinformation. And I think it is to hype up other videos that will be coming. And it's, I guess the nicest word I can use is it's tacky. Nikki, this shadow video. There is a shadow video. I'm a little on the fence with some of the videos. I have seen in my feed about this shadow video. I haven't watched it yet. I'll watch it. Just because some of the videos have been so doctored, so to speak, that it kind of makes me think of the dress that floats around. And is it blue? Is it gray? It's like, if you doctor something so much, are you going to see what you want? Are you going to show people what you want them to see? Because the more people, I know what I saw crystal clear on the flashlight video. And then the more it was doctored, I started thinking, am I seeing what they're seeing? And in the end, I went back to no, you saw what you thought you saw, which in my opinion is either flashlights or a vehicle showing up and there's a transfer or something to that effect, or somebody coming home, whatever it is. But I believe there's something to that video. I do not believe law enforcement that it was a garbage truck. I don't believe that it's nothing. I believe it's maybe very important to their case that we believe it's nothing, but I don't believe it's nothing. And that's just something that nobody's probably going to be able to change my mind unless I saw a court trial where an expert showed me it wasn't. But if it made it to a trial, I would say it's exactly what I think it is. So, but it was kind of a deflating to me. I certainly didn't want drama. That was, but I didn't feel like I got any path forward yet again. I'm glad to hear he has an attorney. I'm glad there's some legal wheels moving. But I think a lot of us know the family court system in the whole country moves slow as molasses. So I don't think, with the child being missing, anything's going to move any faster. They kick the cans down the road in family court like I've never seen before. So I'm just so stuck. What do we do? A share a day. It's not, in fairness, some of the snotty comments, there's a little truth in the sense that it's not our child, and if, people don't want help from outside sources, what do you do? I don't know what else to do. Did you see that the groom associated with the wedding that the dress you spoke of was being worn was just sent to prison for trying to strangle his wife to death? No. What? No, I did not. That is crazy, Carol. That's that's funny. I'm gonna have to look that up. It's not funny because obviously that's scary, but that is bizarre. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Um, I'm a feeler, and so I'm really trying to feel out, okay, you send the maps, you send your letter, you share every day, the flyer, um, you know, but I don't know what else it sounds like they're trying to really kind of just privately do their own thing, and is I guess what I took from it. And at a point, do we just respect that? I mean, because if that is the case, then I'm telling myself, okay, you need to wrap your mind around this, and you know there's other children's cases that need help, and nobody's helping. So what do is that where we go from here? Because I'm not like some of the other creators. I can't just make up. Despite somebody, some of the comments I got today about clickbait. Oh, this was clickbait. I guess I'm clickbaiting people. So I don't know how to just make up lies or make up content that doesn't exist or twist a story into something new. I don't have that in me. I don't know how to do that. So at this point, I will be monitoring the Facebook group, seeing if there's any other way that we can help. I'm open to anyone's suggestions along the way, um, but that's what I can do. The maps, the letter, sharing each day, his flyer. But it sounds like, the message is, back off, you know, because if people aren't going to be on the other end receiving the information, or they don't want to, if you do get it somewhere, they're not going to act on it. It is a lot of effort. It's a lot of hard work. And that could have been done for another child who's, you know, and as I've talked about Elijah Vu, finding him is a huge mission for me. And so I will throw that out there right now. If anybody that is in this live chat, or if there is anybody that subsequently watches this video once it's, not live anymore and is super close to Wisconsin, or, that, it maybe even lives in, Wisconsin, please email me if you are interested in doing a search with me. Once I firm information, I will see if some of the volunteers directly in Two Rivers are interested in this other area that I think is important to look at. But anybody that wants to help is absolutely more than welcome. And it's not like, super crazy terrain. And so I'm going to throw my email in the chat, in case somebody, that is able to get to, kind of, what would that be? kind of southeast part of Wisconsin, and I am leaning towards Memorial Day, either that Monday or the Sunday before our Memorial Day. And so anybody that would be interested in participating in that, it's more than welcome. I would just, want to know in advance so I can get that information to you. But, there's a 3-year-old little boy that we're likely doing a recovery. It's a recovery, I believe, firmly at this point. And it's really sad to say that. But the only way he's going to get justice is, likely that, he's found or somebody starts talking. And I think there's some really dark stuff going on with that case involving things much bigger than just drugs and the abuse. So, and unfortunately, Texas is just way, way, way too far for me, in regards to Caleb Harris. But I have a really good lead on the Caleb Harris case. And I have been searching high and low. I thought I had a way to reach out to get it to Tony, and the message was deleted. So I think I saw somewhere somebody told me that Caleb's father has a tip line. So I think I'm going to call that because I have a very interesting lead on that. So that's interesting. But I mean, I don't know what else to do for Sebastian's case. And it sounds like nobody else knows what to do either. It's hard and it's defeating. But in all fairness, sometimes I get a good night's sleep and I wake up and I'm full of a whole new fire that I didn't have the day before. So I could change my whole tune tomorrow and come up with some other great idea. But at this point, that is all I can think of at this point. I saw a ton of people, sharing their love and their support for Seth. So, in that chat. So despite what he might be feeling, it seems like he has a tremendous amount of people that are sending out all sorts of positive juju his way. So yeah, Mickey, I'm trying. I'm trying my best. It's like I just feel like there's roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. It's like, the people that are putting in a lot of the work behind the scenes and not just doing videos, doing real research in regards to search. Um, can't get a human being on the other end. And I think at this point, but beyond the things I said, I watch and I wait and see if I see a path forward. I saw they're going to have the bike motorcycle rally for Sebastian. I think I had shared that information, and of course I will post it again. That is, well, let's see, well, I will have to find the flyer again and And when I do, I will share it on the community tab for those that are part of, motorcycle clubs or are close enough or are planning a ride at that time, that do want to participate, that they can. I assume it's, a way of support and like emotional support, and I would think a fundraiser of some kind. But it sounds like he was not disclosing the location of the searches or the meeting places at this time. It sounds like he is going to be communicating that privately between their group. So, you know, um, I guess that we have to take that as they feel that they have a big enough team. And he did make, we got enough cooks in the kitchen. Um, and there was one specific um, female creator that was quite thrown under the bus in this interview. So I imagine that will be the highlight of tomorrow's streams. But I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, where they're going. And I think I'm really sad for Chloe. I think I'm really sad. And maybe I'm feeling her energy, and that's might be what I'm kind of feeding more off her energy today. Um, because I think that I would feel really stung, and I hope she knows that she was very much appreciated, and that I have no doubt she will continue searching, even if she is trekking through those woods alone. And I don't think she would, because I think Trevor Lee is still very involved, and he was from the beginning, and he's another person that was kind of just um, ran off by others. Um, and I think what it comes down to is um, sometimes the biggest voices on these platforms uh, drown out the smaller ones that maybe have a better agenda. And that's unfortunate. Um, I'm so sad after the Pascal interview, even to take up for Chloe tonight. Trev, yeah. Um, he did. He did take up for her, and I'm so glad he did. That was probably the comment I think Pascal read out loud. Um, and it needed to be read out loud. And I think Pascal knew it needed to be read out loud, that she deserves more credit than imaginable. I mean, she's not charging. Was not just an investigator. I mean, she was search and rescue, physical search and rescue. Trevor Lee was search and rescue. I mean, the divers, that, backed off because another registered offender who is, also a creator, and a diver was threatening them. And, so they're getting in their match. And that was unfortunate to get those people pull back. Oh yeah, that is rude that Chloe didn't put enough time in because she had a full-time job. Yeah. Yeah. That's very disrespectful. And it really wouldn't matter to me if she put in 3 hours a week when somebody is doing something for free out of the kindness of their heart, and they truly are the living, breathing, walking poster for your child. I would want her next to me. she was not out there seeking publicity. She was not out there trying to be the one interview, with the web sleuths, they're very reputable. I don't think there was a plan for that to turn into the pony show it turned into. And at some point, I understand, kind of like the canine handler was saying in the chat the other night here, people's reputations, when you stand up for, what matters or the right thing, or you try to be strong and use your voice for the good, you have a lot of people that come in and they want to just shred your reputation, and they try to, take away everything you stand for. And that is unfortunate. And I'm glad the handler is still coming. But I'm really heartbroken that Chloe is not part of the team. I think she was one of the best assets. And the second best would now be the attorney, because the attorney is, in my opinion, long overdue. I would have had the attorney probably early March, once I kind of got wind of what was going on. And I think there was so much stuff going on behind the scenes that Chloe was doing that nobody had a clue about. And, Tony's in a position where, yeah, he can dedicate all of his time between Seth and Randy Harris. And, he's in a more financial, comfortable position, as you've said. But that to me doesn't, uh, shouldn't negate the ones that I put in a ton of time on the files for Sebastian, Elijah, the whole case, Rachel and Stacy, and Tamanta's hurt, and I have a job. I have children to take care of and things like that. So is it 40 hours a week committed to Seth Rogers? No. Does that mean it's not important in any way? I'm sure that they have physical volunteer searchers who maybe can do a search, uh, this week, but then they can't come for the next 2 weeks, even if they lended an hour of their time, or they're the people who just work to design flyers, design the t-shirts, and they have other responsibilities, that still rallied support, that nobody has to give. Nobody's required to help you. Just like, everybody keeps, a lot of the comments. Seth doesn't owe you anything. He doesn't owe us anything, and this and this and this. But, to a degree, you owe the people that are trying to help you some respect, some kindness, and some gratitude. I live my life with tremendous gratitude. I go to sleep grateful for what I have. I wake up in the morning grateful for what I have. I am grateful for all the little kind things that people do, for me, for my family, every single day, and vice versa. And I'm grateful for everybody here that's even, engaging with me, that's giving me an opportunity to have any form of a platform. even if it's not as big as, those other, channels. The point is, you can choose to lead your life with kindness. You can be a good human. You can be grateful. Um, but again, we've seen, that sometimes he reacts when he's having a bad day or the pressure or the stress is mounting. But in fairness, if I'm just being honest, sometimes I think that he can be a little naive and he can let other people sway his opinions, his thoughts, or make decisions for him sometimes. And that's been the ways I felt since the beginning of this case. It happened with Chris, when they were doing the alliance and all of that. If it sounds good and it gives him some hope, he is quick to go down that path. And, you have to worry that someone who's in a position of weakness is being taken advantage of in one way or another. Not always like financially, but for other bad motives like the Chris thing and the alliance. Um, so I worry sometimes that he's a little naive and he is just quick to think that everybody else, what they're telling him at that moment might be better than what the last person told him. So let me just go here. Um, How can you criticize someone who volunteers their time and effort? The boots on the ground search efforts are dangerous, not only the terrain, but the ticks and the snakes. Yes. I was thinking the same thing when Seth was going on about Chloe not relaying tips to him. I questioned that comment. Maybe Chloe was getting too close to something. I see you were tying off her comment. So, okay. Um, Well, I think that one thing I think Chloe has been clear about is I think Chloe really vets the information she gets. I think Chloe was very careful about what she shared. Um, but I would say, I'm hoping this, the fact that TBI didn't have these CPS reports is not as big of a deal as I'm thinking it is, because it really has me, wanting to dive down the rabbit hole of what do you do in Sumner County? What are you doing? Who are you working for? When this whole time I'm thinking they have this big undercover sting operation surveillance thing going on. And this little bit of information has me like really kind of bothered. And I've said it, and I said it the other night. Um, and somebody else commented on another thing I had affirming it. There are locations in Mississippi, Memphis, Jackson, Tennessee, in betweenies that need to be searched. I'm not saying, Henderson is off the table, and I'm not saying there's not even evidence or a person. I'm just saying I think they need to. And, my son he's going to be 16 in about a week. And it was so funny. He said to me, um, I'm almost 16 years old, and even I can see the writing on the wall in this case. Exactly. Like we have somebody who's almost, same age as Sebastian. Um, telling me that he sees that, people don't vanish into thin air. And I've always believed that children are way more intuitive than any of us adults. And, that they They know so much more than we give them credit for. They feel um, the emotions of adults, even if they don't talk about it. You know, your kids know when you're having marital strife, even if you're off in the bedroom having those stressful conversations and arguments quietly. Um, they sense those things. You know, Sebastian was probably quite aware of what was going on in the marriage of, his mom and Chris. Um, besides the part that he was just reminded of constantly. So I think, it's if somebody who's like 15, kind of has a clear idea with very limited information, very limited. Um, why is law enforcement so seemingly unaware? Because either one of two things is happening here. One of three things. Number one, they truly aren't doing anything. They just have moved on to other things. Number two, they're doing what I've been hoping they're doing. They have surveillance going on. They're undercover. They're watching. They're watching everything. Okay. And the joke's on us because even they're not talking to us because they got way more than we think they know. And then there's number three. Um, who are they really working for? It's one of those three. And I've been in that middle option, you know, thinking there's this big um, secret operation going on that we don't know about. And we're just going to find out at the end, like, you guys thought we weren't doing nothing. You have no idea the mountains of information, evidence, and the case we've been building. Um, so it's one of those three things. But knowing TBI doesn't have what to me is a very key component to this case, the documents of abuse, so hopefully TBI doesn't have an issue getting that information from Sumner County, which is why even if they could care less if I do this letter and this letter is ignored, I plan to send this letter and circulate the letter. Because I want them to know that we're all wanting to make sure that they know, they're civil servants, to make sure that they know that Chris and Kate, they're under the spotlight too. Law enforcement should be allowed to be held accountable. They don't have to tell everybody their case, but they need to know that there's oversight, that there's, that people aren't going to just roll over um, and let children in Tennessee disappear, be sold, be abducted, kidnapped, whatever it is happening to these kids. And everybody's just going to pretend like it's not going to happen, like it's not happening. So I think if there's anything, that is sending a message for more than just Sebastian, for the other 121 active missing children cases, such as Summer Wells, um, who is highly likely to either be deceased at this point or was sold to pay debts, to get money, potentially like the other daughter in that family. So But yes, I just said this a few days ago, I think it was, when I was kind of feeling like this. You keep pushing everybody away, and you continue to tell everybody that, there's it's not necessary, or there's too many cooks in the kitchen. If all you want is everybody to just keep sharing the flyer and saying the name, that's fine. But I think you have a whole lot of people out there that are really crafty and talented in a whole lot of other ways that could be lending help, um, you know, besides just doing interviews and having pissing matches. Wouldn't you think the community would be concerned that there might be a bad actor out there snatching children with this case unsolved? I mean, it looks to me like the neighbors are probably at this point feeling. I think the problem is that the neighbors know what they know, and what they've seen and observed. And there are going to be people out there where if they believe something nefarious happened, which might be what law enforcement is thinking, if there's something nefarious that happened and it's just a recovery, they're less likely to search than if they thought that there was somebody out there, struggling, injured, which is still a possibility. Um, Deb, I know people say we're bad people when we say what we're really thinking. Um, but yeah, I think that there's a lot of us that really believe something really bad happened, um, that the night of February 25th. And whatever happened, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I believe, um, Katie and Chris, have some knowledge, and at a minimum. But, if it was me, no matter whether it was a recovery or a search and rescue, I would want anyone and everyone, um, and I don't know what possesses people to threaten people that are searching. And part of me wonders sometimes, but again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I like, that's just too ridiculous. But like, part of me is like, are some of these podcasters in somebody's pocket? Because like some of the fodder that they come up with, like, were you paid to go down this road today and talk about this subject? It's weird. Um, this whole case is so bizarre as far as how things shift from one day to the next. And, it's been said repeatedly in many comments, nobody knows what to believe to be the truth anymore. And that's scary when, it should be really simple. And the waters have been so muddied at this point that none of us, can truly make sense of all of it. We're all trying to figure out, who do we trust, who's telling the truth, who's working for who. Um, is this headline real? I'm no different than you guys. I click on a video because I think somebody's getting arrested and they're not. I click on a video because I think so and so is going to be interviewed and they're not. Um, you know, I, I'm clicking on these things too. And I got to sit and wait 30, 40 minutes to figure out that it's not at all what I thought I was clicking on. And for the record, to me, that's clickbait. Not saying breaking news 15 minutes after um, the main person, in my opinion, that has been on a case puts out a statement that they're stepping down, and I'm saying breaking news within 15 minutes. That to me is not clickbait. But it's so funny because I go on these other chats and I don't see anybody calling out these people. Like, what's in your title? Is this person coming on? Who's getting arrested? Wait, there was a sighting where? Who was found? I mean, nobody calls them out. But they still get, 50, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, views and tons of money. So, you know, you're not going to stop something if it's paying well. Star, I don't think we're ever going to know the truth unless we end up in, watching a court trial. I agree with you. I don't, otherwise I don't think it's going to happen. Um, if Chris and Katie separate, that might change things. Um, because he's been doing all the talking for her. So, but I would say, um, to me, the only reason they probably haven't completely like went to Mexico or something by now is because law enforcement is likely still talking to them on a regular basis. I could be wrong. But as soon as I think that if it gets to a place where it's quiet enough, they're going to be long gone. And that home is going to go on the market. It's not going to probably go on the public market. It's going to probably end up being a pocket listing with, Chris's mom. And it's going to sell. And maybe some rich, good Samaritan will buy it and let the dogs in. And then maybe we'll get some answers. But I imagine by then it would be squeaky clean. Well, if charges come forward, I have a strong feeling that both of them are capable on flipping on one another. But I would say that I think that Chris would be the first. If there was a deal on the table and he knew that they had him and they had her, I think he would take a deal. Deb, Seth and Tony were on Pascal before he got some documents, which he will not share with anyone but his lawyer, not even Tony. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, that there are more CPS incidents than he was aware of. He has redacted copies. He has informed TBI, who did not know or said they were not aware that they existed and that they did not have them. And he told TBI to request those records, the unredacted copies of those records. Um, I think the extent of what he's told Tony was that, there were more instances than he was even aware of, and what in the system, what is wrong, which leads me to Peter Hyatt. I think it's 7 a.m. tomorrow. Peter Hyatt is doing, which might answer my question, because my question is how does a person who has custody of his son, joint custody, not know CPS has been to the home? And I truly, that blows my mind that that's even legal for CPS not to contact the other parent. So tomorrow, 7 a.m., Peter Hyatt is child abuse investigation perspective. Sebastian Rogers, 15, has been missing since February 25th, last seen by his mother. How does a CPS investigation work? What is looked for? What are the risk factors? What have we learned since he was reported missing? So I'm going to be watching that because, I've been longing to make a connection with someone who has worked for CPS, to do an interview with them. So I'm anxious to see what information he's going to have. And I am going to, that's me. You don't want to hear me talking. I'm going to just paste that link in chat in case anyone wants to click on it to get the notification of it. And for those, because it's kind of a lot of people's commute to work. Or it's your time where you're scrambling to get your kids ready for school. But either way, at least you'd have it for later, because CPS is involved in so many of these cases of children who have gone missing or deceased or potentially sold, and why I have so many questions. So maybe I will get a few of those answered, because I don't know if any of you have watched, what is it? What's it called? Okay, it's the trials. Okay. The trials of Gabriel Fernandez on Netflix. I have had it on my watch list, and I have still not been able to turn it on because it's just going to mess me up. It's going to have me so emotional. But that was, social workers were charged. And, any of you that are new to my channel, I try to sort things into playlists whenever I can remember. I get a spare minute. I try to make sure I put my videos in appropriate playlists. But there is a playlist for Tristan and Brittany Hull. And this couple, they're charged with, they were up to pure evil. And I am diligently following their case. And the first thing, when you listen to it, the comments were, how did nobody say anything sooner? How do you have a 15-year-old, which we look at Sebastian, okay, and many have said that he's maybe too skinny at 113. And I have a 15-year-old as well. And granted, girls can be smaller, but how do you have a 15-year-old who is 50 pounds, the size of a toddler, 50 pounds, and nobody reports it. The silence. Everybody just so silent. And you'll hear when I read the court documents, the pastor, other church members, they watched her sneak and hide to eat food. And why was law enforcement not sent? You're seeing this. One thing that has bothered me is if Seth knew Sebastian had been SA in the past when the child said he didn't want to go back, wouldn't you wonder about that? Look, if my kid was assaulted in one house, and if I recall, Chris's words were this was like the third time something bad happened while in, their care. I don't think he should have, been there. And it sounded like, Seth was, for the majority until they were divorced, at least pretty much the full time dad. So I don't know if maybe it's buried in one of the many interviews, where the decision was made that it was best for him to have more time with Katie and her to have like the primary placement side of things. Because, traditionally a lot of courts, do favor the moms because they feel like, in most family settings, the mom is the primary caregiver, so to speak. But in this case, it was Seth, for his younger years. So, when the decision was made to go to Tennessee, boy, how things could have been different if that hadn't happened. But, and I'm not judging, Katie's decision to join the Navy, but, hearing their early story of their early years today, something just kind of plunk sank in me when he talked about her decision to join the Navy. I just thought as a mom, like what a really hard decision that would be if I had a little one, still at that age. If you had been in it before and then you got pregnant and you had a child and you just went back, but to do it like you weren't in it before and then you had your child and to go at such a young age, I would think would be, hard for a lot of people. But, made me wonder a little bit if there was just a lack of a connection there because, Seth was, you know, the bonding, the parent that, had that early year bonding. But he said after a weekend with Seth, Sebastian said he didn't want to go back to Katie's house. Yeah. And, there's stuff we don't know. And, you know, the grandma has said things. And from the beginning, she was trying to get law enforcement to hear, she was clear that Sebastian confided things in her, and then she didn't share those with her son, Seth, until after Sebastian went missing. And she's beating herself up about that a lot. So I'm not going to do that. But I think that, Chris had a lot of people fooled. And if Chris, was calling Seth all the time and trying to make everything sound like it's hunky dory. Yeah, I'm teaching him how to operate heavy machinery and, everything's so jolly good. And he wasn't the wiser until, Chris called him to start talking about, hey, we're having marriage problems. Was Seth not picking up on something? But if I recall, the divorce really was, she met Chris and they were beginning their relationship, if I recall correctly. And I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you just think like how different everything could have been if they hadn't met. But I have a feeling if, they had, and for all maybe they thought Seth would say, nope, not taking my kid to Tennessee. He's staying with me. And maybe she wouldn't have even fought him on it. Maybe there was a detachment. I don't know. I hope it's just a case where you just hope and hope and hope that the obvious is not right, and you hope you're wrong, because the whole thing is bad and the outcome is bad. And if you think there's dirty laundry now, if it ever got to a place where charges were pressed and this went to court, I think we'd all be pretty mortified because, in these court cases, it all comes out. But in my opinion, I would hope it would be like the, Gabriel Fernandez, where let's bring the people from CPS up here, because either Chris is lying because he knows that they cannot speak publicly, so he can say whatever he wants, or Chris is telling the truth, and that, CPS literally told Sebastian to quit making up stories. You could get in trouble, which basically says like, he's, Chris has immunity. Don't call us anymore because we're not going to help you. Because he loved his dad, he loved his grandmother, but when all is said and done, these bad things keep happening to him, and he didn't have anywhere to, fully confide and be rescued from the situation. But I mean, in fairness, I think most of us have had serious life situations where we all shoulda, coulda, woulda. We wish we could have. We feel terrible. We feel guilt. We wish we would have done this or that. Which is why I say a lot of this stuff is stuff that, it's just going to have to be dealt with after, after he's found. It's just discouraging because you don't want to talk to people if they're talking about, helping you. But you're okay, if you're doing interviews, talking about, the dirt, So where do we go? We'll see if they come forward and indicate that they need something from anybody. At this point, I think our marching orders are share his face, share his name. It's about where we're left. So I will be ending it here tonight. I don't know what else we can really do at this point. I want to say thank you guys for tuning in, and I do appreciate you. And there are other children that are missing. There are other important cases in the works. So if you get extra time or just need something to listen to on your morning or evening commute or while you're washing the dishes, there are other playlists with important stories under the playlist tab. Um, and, so hopefully a light can be, shine for those families as well. And we will continue to do anything we can to help find Sebastian. And we'll see what tomorrow brings. But I will be sharing the letter that I finalized that will be going to law enforcement, because I have no problem with any concerned individuals sharing that as much as possible to get the light on law enforcement, because they don't need to really answer us. They just need to know that we are watching and we are waiting and we are really hoping that everything is legit. And maybe they can also explain why they're not searching, but that's a whole nother, I'm not going to harp on that all night. So thank you for everybody that did watch, and for all of your thoughts and your comments and your insight, and for everything you shared. And if you ever have information you think is important, or of a person, a case that might be of a matter that is important, be it domestic violence, mental health, or, something going on, where CPS is maybe failing, please email me that. If you know of a missing person case that is not getting any attention, email me that information. If you are a resource that could shed light on any of these things, feel free to email me. If you know, ever need to contact me, I answer my emails. I read all the chats, the comments, and respond as quickly as I can. And, I hope that we can just continue to try to help anybody that is looking for help, and do something to make some kind of a difference out there. So with that being said, I hope all of you guys have a really great night. I appreciate all of you, and thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time.